towering sentinel of ice and stone that has stood for over 8,000 years, stretching across the northernmost frontier of Westeros. Its cold and imposing presence is both a physical barrier and a symbol of the isolation endured by those who guard it, the Night's Watch. For centuries, the men of the Night's Watch have sworn a solemn oath, dedicating their lives to protecting the realms of men and what lies beyond. But who are these men in black? What is the true purpose of this ancient order, and what secrets lie buried beneath its storied past? Today, we'll take a deep dive into the lore, history, and evolution of one of Westeros' most mysterious and vital institutions, the Night's Watch. To truly understand the Night's Watch, we must first step into the shadows of history, into a time before recorded memory, when the world of men faced its greatest threat, the Long Night. A period of near-eternal winter brought terror to the realms of men. In this dark era, the White Walkers, the Ancient Others, emerged from the frozen wastes of the lands of always winter. These creatures, with eyes like cold fire and a silence that chilled the soul, led an army of the dead, bringing devastation and chaos to Westeros. Legend holds that it was only after a last, desperate alliance between the First Men and the Children of the Forest, the mystical, ancient race of beings who once ruled Westeros, that the White Walkers were finally defeated. But its victory was not permanent. Even in the aftermath of the Long Night, those who survived feared the White Walkers' return. It is said that Bran the Builder, the mythical ancestor of House Stark, raised the wall with the aid of giants, sorcery, and the Children of the Forest. The wall itself, over 700 feet tall and stretching across 300 miles, is a marvel of ancient magic, far beyond the capabilities of even the most skilled maesters. But the wall alone was not enough. To guard it, the Night's Watch was born. The Night's Watch is bound by one of the most solemn and binding oaths in all of Westeros. This is no mere military pledge. This is a lifelong commitment, sealed not by loyalty to a lord, but to an ideal. Night gathers, and now my watch begins. These words resonate with the weight of history, spoken by countless men who have stood where others would not. But what does that truly mean to serve the watch? When a man swears the oath, he gives up everything. His family, his titles, his lands, and even his name in some cases. The watch does not care if you're a noble-born heir to a great house or a lowly criminal. Once you don the black cloak, all men are equal, bound by the same code to protect the realms of men, no matter what the cost. But in truth, the cost is immense. No wives, no children, no lands, no glory, only duty. The men of the watch live a life of isolation, cut off from the warmth of the hearth and home, surrounded only by the unforgiving cold of the wall and the dangers lurking beyond. In many ways, the Night's Watch is a death sentence, though not all who join realize it at first. Yet with this death, there's also rebirth. The Watch offers men the chance to leave behind their past mistakes and sins. It is both a punishment and a redemption. For serving in the Watch, a man can become something greater than himself. The Night's Watch was not always the ragtag band of criminals and outcasts that it eventually became. There was a time when the Night's Watch was revered, when the kingdoms of Westeros honored the sacrifice of these men with regular supplies, food, and recruits. In its prime, the Watch was a military powerhouse, boasting nearly 20 strongholds along the wall, each garrisoned with hundreds of trained men. Of the 19 castles built along the wall, only 3 remained manned by the time of the Game of Thrones. Castle Black, Eastwatch by the Sea, and Shadow Tower. The others, names like Night Fort, Queen's Gate, and Deep Lake, have long since fallen into ruin, their halls silent, their defenses abandoned. At the height of its power, the Night's Watch was more than just a guard force. It was an institution that commanded respect, standing as a shield that guarded not just the North, but all the kingdoms of Westeros. Lords across the 7 kingdoms would send their second sons and bannermen to serve at the wall, seeing it as a noble calling and a chance to earn honor. But as the centuries passed, the glory of the Night's Watch faded. The threat of the White Walkers became little more than a forgotten legend, and the kingdoms of men turned their attention inward, focusing on political intrigue, wars, and power struggles. The wall, once seen as a vital bastion of defense, became a distant afterthought. As the support from the Seven Kingdoms dwindled, the quality of men sent to the Watch began to change. No longer were knights and noble-born sons filling the ranks. Instead, the wall became a place for the unwanted. Criminals, rapists, thieves, and bastards. The once great order was reduced to little more than a penal colony, a dumping ground for society's rejects. By the time Jon Snow joins the Night's Watch, the institution is a shadow of its former self. The men are undertrained, under-equipped, and underappreciated. Yet despite its decline, the core of the Night's Watch remains. An unwavering commitment to protect the realm, even when the realm itself no longer cares. Alright, now we're going to get more into the structure of the Night's Watch. Yes, they were weaker, they were diminished, but the Night's Watch has always had a rigid hierarchy of who's at the top and who funnels down after them. So obviously, at the very tippity top is the Lord Commander, who is elected to lead the Night's Watch, unlike all the other institutions in Westeros where, the leadership is inherited, or, hey, you have a fancy title, you should do this. The Night's Watch votes for who they want to lead, and it's a rare example of democracy in Westeros. Now, below the Lord Commander are officers, and those officers are responsible for three very important divisions of the Night's Watch. So, you have the First Ranger. Shocker, he leads the Rangers. Rangers are those people who venture beyond the wall, scouting, fighting, White Walkers or the Wildlings. Then you have the First Builder, who oversees the construction and maintenance of the wall. And then you have the First Stewards, who keep the whole show running. In my head, the First Steward is probably the most important person, because he ensures the day-to-day logistics of the Night's Watch, where foods come from, where horses come from, who's going to go get the food, who's going to go take care of the horses, that kind of stuff. In my head, that also has to do with, hey, we need shit for the blacksmith, yada yada. But that is going to be the structure of the Night's Watch. For thousands of years, the Night's Watch's original purpose had been forgotten. Most believe that the White Walkers were nothing more than ancient fairy tales, stories to frighten children on cold nights, but the truth, as we know it, was far darker. The White Walkers were not gone. They were merely waiting, biding their time until a long night would come again. The first to discover their return were the Rangers of the Watch, those brave souls who ventured beyond the wall, but by then it was almost too late. As the Walkers gathered their forces, the men of the Watch found themselves ill-prepared for the war to come. The Night's Watch, at its core, is a story of sacrifice. Every man who takes the black gives up his future, his family, his titles, his desires, in exchange for a life of service. It is an organization built on the understanding that some must stand apart from the world in order to protect it. The Watch also embodies the theme of duty. While the noble houses of Westeros often engaged in petty power struggles, the men of the Watch serve a higher cause. They stand guard not for glory or personal gain, but because it is necessary. In a world where ambition often leads to betrayal and ruin, the Night's Watch serves as a reminder there are still those who are willing to serve. Finally, the wall itself stands as a symbol of isolation. It divides the known world from the unknown, civilized from the wild. But it also represents the emotional and psychological barrier that the men of the Watch face, cut off from their past lives, their families, and their dreams. The wall is both their prison and their salvation. At the end of the Game of Thrones TV show, the wall lies in ruins, and the future of the Night's Watch is uncertain. Jon Snow, once Lord Commander, walks away from the wall, joining the free folk as they venture into the lands beyond. But does this mean that's the end of the Night's Watch? Perhaps not. The Watch has endured for over 1,000 years, surviving wars, political turmoil, and the apathy of the kingdoms it serves. Even in ruin, the Watch remains as a symbol of sacrifice, vigilance, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. And with the threat of the White Walkers seemingly defeated for now, the wall may no longer serve as a physical barrier, but its legacy will continue. The story of the Night's Watch is not just a story of men guarding a wall. It's a story of those who choose to stand for something greater than themselves, even when the world does not care. The Night's Watch has always stood as a testament to the endurance of the human spirit, a symbol of duty, honor, and sacrifice in a world filled with chaos and darkness. Though their numbers may have dwindled and their purpose may have shifted, the men of the Night's Watch will always have a place in the history of Westeros. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the lore of the Night's Watch, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and hit that little bell thingy, do all that typical YouTube stuff, and remember, for the watch.